Ruth chapter 2. Ruth chapter 2. Lord, I gotta pray for waiting on me. Ruth chapter 2. I've been singing that song all morning long. Yeah. I've been singing that song all morning long. Yeah. I know what it is to have somebody waiting on me. If you ever lost a loved one, they're waiting on you. They're waiting. They're waiting. I ain't no hurry, man. They're waiting. Ruth chapter 2. Ruth chapter 2. I've been in this love month series all month long. I was going to preach a Black History piece today, but you already know Black history, and if you don't, then we can meet after church. When it's good, you just can't let it go. Things been real good. People have come from everywhere, as you can see, come from everywhere to hear what's going on. So Ruth chapter 2. I'm going to end it and I'm going to get as far as I can get, and that's going to be it, because I can't do part 2 next Sunday because I ain't preaching next Sunday, past that anniversary. So let me just get as far as I can get here. 12:06, we good time. Ruth chapter 2, when you find Ruth 2, say, Still looking, what's up on me? We together. I'm going to stand up and preach this one, because it seems like I preach too long when I sit down.
All right. You want it?
You call me out there. You want it? Man, I don't know what happened. When I sit down, that thing get real long. So let me stand up. Maybe I can finish it quicker. Ruth chapter 2, and look at verse 1. And I want to read it from the NIV version. It makes more sense to me. Ruth chapter 2 and verse 1 says, Now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a man of good standing from the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, Let me go to the field and pick up the leftover grains behind anyone whose eyes I find favor. Naomi said to her, Go ahead, daughter. So she went out and entered into the field and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, watch this, she was working in the field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. Verse 4 says, Just then Boaz arrived. I like how God shows up right on time. Verse 4 said, Just then Boaz arrived from Bethlehem and greeted the harvesters, saying, The Lord be with you. The Lord bless you, they answered. Boaz asked the overseer of the harvest, Who does this young woman belong to? Verse 6. And the overseer replied, She is a Moabite who came from Moab with Naomi. She said, Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters. She came into the field and she remained here from morning to now, except she took a short break in the shelter. And so Boaz said to Ruth, watch this, I'm in verse 8, My daughter, listen to me. Do not glean in another man's field. Do not go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men, the harvesters, and follow after the women. I've already told the men not to lay their hands on you. And whenever you're thirsty, go and get a drink from the water jars that my men have. At this, she bowed down, her face to the ground, and she asked, What have I found such favor in your eyes that you notice me, since I am a foreigner? Can you say amen? That's enough. You can be seated in the presence of God. Grass withers and the flowers fade, but the word of our God shall stand forever. Look back at verse 2, because that's what we'll build this message around for the next 21 minutes. said that Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, let me go into the field and pick up leftovers. Hopefully I'll find favor in somebody's eyes.
Right now.
Verse 10, she says to Boaz, why have I found favor in your sight? Verse 2, she goes looking for favor. Verse 10, favor finds her.
Right now.
Verse 2, she says, I'm going to look for a favor. Verse 10, she says, why has this favor found me? I want to talk for a moment from the subject, but favor found me.
All right.
But favor found me. If that's your testimony, don't even worry about what your neighbors shout about. Just look at them and tell them, favor found me. Come on. Seem like you're sitting down, favor. Find you one more. And even if they don't talk, just talk to yourself. Just shout, favor found me. You don't know there's some haters in the room. Sometimes you just got to talk to yourself. Favor found me. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, saints and sinners, there is a familiar slogan that's heard, big man, in every state, in every city, among Christian women and church women. Notice I made the distinction. Christian women and church women, because you do know every church woman ain't a Christian woman. That has nothing to do with gender. You do know every church person ain't a Christian person. You do know everybody who comes to church ain't saved. You know, everybody who comes to the house of God don't know the God of the house. And so, beloved, here's why I say every Christian woman and every church woman all over the world has a similar message. Wherever you go, no matter what group you get around, if there's more than a few women, there's at least one woman in that circle who will boldly tell somebody, I'm waiting on my Boaz. Y'all want to talk about it? That's a popular slogan now, Courtney. That's a popular. They even got T-shirts that they sell at women conferences that make big money that says, waiting on my Boaz. You talk to a woman who's single and been single for a while, and you ask her, are you in a relationship with her? She said, no, girl, I'm just waiting on God. Y'all ain't gonna talk, okay. I'm waiting on God to send my Boaz. But let me just keep this real for the next 21 minutes. Let me just keep it all the way real and all the way live and tell you that in order to get a Boaz, you must have the character of Ruth. Come on. Y'all ain't gonna shout. I don't think you will. I tell you, God ain't gonna send no Boaz to no Jezebel. No, you can't be a low down woman and expect God to send you a good man. No, ladies and gentlemen, you can't expect for God to send you a faithful woman when you ain't even a faithful man. You can't expect God to send you something better than you be. Y'all talk now. I tell you, you got to be what you want to see. What are you talking about, Rick? Listen, if you want somebody good, you got to be good yourself. If you want somebody faithful, you got to be faithful yourself. If you want somebody with money, you got to have some money yourself. I'm talking out there. Ladies and gentlemen, see, most of the time we want somebody who got more than we got. But can I tell you, if you ain't got no money and you looking for somebody with money, can I promise you that somebody with money ain't looking for nobody that ain't got money? You gotta be what you want to see. And so I got excited when I looked at this. I got excited when I looked at this story about Ruth. And just for a moment today, I want to unpack what the Holy Spirit has packed in the text. You understand, beloved, you are no novice. You understand that the book of Ruth is a story about love and about redemption and about dedication. There is, when you find Ruth, here it is. Ruth is a Moabite woman who gets converted, shell, from her paganistic heritage, and she comes from her paganistic heritage, and she falls in love with the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. She leaves her false God, and she falls in love with this God who runs heaven and earth. And ladies and gentlemen, that puts her in the privileged line. She hooks up with this man by the name of Boaz. Boaz is a wonderful brother. And not only does she hook up with Boaz, but God gives her a son by the name of Obed. Now you understand that Obed is the great-grandfather of King David. So not only does that put her in a privileged position of being in the bloodline of David, but ultimately she is the great-great-great-grandfather grandmother of Jesus Christ. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, she's got the perfect man. She's got the perfect family. They got plenty of money. They got their own businesses. Things are real good for Ruth. But Louise, can I tell you, her story didn't start out like that. Y'all ain't talking. Ladies and gentlemen, her story started out rough. Her story started out a mess. But I love God because he always takes a mess and makes a miracle out of it. I need about 35 of y'all that can testify. I know what you're talking about. Because I've had some mess in my life and God worked a miracle. I get some messy folks in this room that came like, well, I know I've been a mess, but I shout because he worked a miracle out of my mess. Just touch somebody and tell them I was a mess. I know you can't tell because I got my church clothes on now, but I was a mess. I know you can't tell because I'm married and living good now, but I was a mess. I know you can't tell because every time you see me, I'm telling you I'm blessed and highly favored. But there was a time I was a mess, and that's the reason I shout the way I shout. That's the reason I holler and don't care what nobody think about it. Because when I think about how big of a mess I used to be, and God took my mess and made a miracle. She was the only folk hollering now are the folk that can remember how big of a mess you used to be. You talk about low down, used to be that. You talk about a whore, used to be that. You talk about a drug, used to be that. But how you like me now? Feel like I'm a preacher. Yeah. I feel that right there. Ruth started out a mess. That God of ours took what was a mess. Feel something pushing me there. And made a miracle. Okay, here's the story. Calm down, son. Here's the story. Okay. Ruth used to be married to a guy from Bethlehem.
All right.
Okay. They lived with his mama and his daddy named Naomi and Elimelech.
All right.
There's a lot of people in this house because not only is Naomi and Elimelech and Ruth and her man there, but Ruth's brother-in-law and sister-in-law all live in the same house.
All right.
Okay, so you got 6 grown people living in one house. Now that's a mess. You gotta have Jesus to live. Okay, but wait. And so here's what happened. There is a famine in Bethlehem. And so they leave Bethlehem and they go to a town called Moab.